Alright guys, so we're here at the Summer Globals and I have Splendour with me, so support player of course for mYinsanity and also the brain behind a lot of the drafts. One of the things that we want to talk about today is actually not the tournament, but also a change that Blizzard currently proposed where they are thinking about changing the healing in the game itself. They're currently talking about especially increasing healing and mana of health globes on the map, about increasing the cooldown of the well, for example, and we want to talk a little bit about it. So first of all, Splendour, what do you think are these changes targeted at? Like, are you happy with they were talking a lot about supports in general. Are you happy with the support role right now? And what do you think these changes could have of an impact to the game itself?
So I think right now there is definitely some issues with the support role, which is that it's too much focused on healing and on saving positional mistakes of allies. So basically there is very few supports that are preferred by the competitive scene, which is the ones that can save allies, so Karazim, Ulter and Rhaegar. And also at the same time, the support feels kind of unrewarding because all your plays are very reactional. So in a competitive environment, using your spells might turn the tide of a fight if you have the perfect lens or your perfect ult or something. But apart from those playmaker spells, you have nothing to catch enemies with or to make a proactive play which can win you the game. So for example in Hero League, if you have someone that is feeding, you just throw all of your spells on him, and then he dies again, and then you feel like you've achieved nothing, even though you did everything you could, but you can't win the game. So it feels very unrewarding. So the changes they're making, I feel like they're targeted towards. They're kind of the first step towards changing how the supports work, because so what Blizzard wants to do is they want to increase healing from other places. So that, for example, if you get poked in lane, you don't have to recall every 1 minute. Like you will imagine if there was no healers in the game, you get poked by an Avatar Mine, by an AO, by like Chromie, something completely random, and you have to base, and it's really annoying. So other games fix it with items that give you life steal, HP regeneration, or like some kind of potions. But in Heroes there are no items, so it's just the self-sustain you have and the healers. So Blizzard is trying to do something with the globes by improving the HP regen from them.
So basically you're saying if they actually improve healing from other sources as a healer, they could take a bit of the healing ability from the actual supports away right now and give them something else. So you would like supports to have a bit of a different role in the game as is?
Yeah, exactly. I think supports should have some way of doing proactive plays as well. So for example, a lot of the healers, they have 1 or 2 healing abilities, and if they give them let's look at Karazim. Say they remove his Z and they give him another ability that either is some kind of a CC, something like Sitch's Hook, that can reposition enemies or allies, or something like that does a lot of burst damage. Then, like that hero right now will just be too strong because he provides the healing and the damage. And in the competitive scene, we'll see a lot of like double support, maybe even triple support, and you'll get those really drawn out fights which no one wants to watch, and it will be just worse for the game. But if they've nerfed all healing in the game, and they left supports how they are right now, it would feel even worse to be a support because you will never be able to carry. So I think what they want to do is they want to give them those tools to do some proactive plays, but at the same time nerf all the healing in the game.
Do you think that the way that they're going about it right now, I feel like you analyzed really well what the idea is behind all of this. Do you think that, especially looking at the regeneration globe change and also what they want to do with wells, is that really the way to go about it, or do you think they need to change those approaches?
So actually I think that's a good way. So especially the regeneration globes, you're getting them throughout the whole game. There's a regeneration globe everywhere, from the wave, from the camp, from some map objective like on Inferno or Battlefield. The well changes, I'm not so sure they're connected to that. It's just they're making it work in a different way, since they want to increase the cooldown, which would make you get less HP overall in the game. But they also want to make it give you more mana, which would mean that you have to recall less because of it. So I'm not actually, with the well change, I'm not too sure why they're making it, and it's kind of weird to me.
Do you like the well mechanic as is? I know that you had a couple of ideas on how it actually maybe changed a little bit. Can you talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, so I have some issues with the well mechanic. So first of all, it is too impactful. Like if 2 teams are fighting around an objective and one team has a well nearby and the other doesn't, the team with the well has a huge advantage, even if they have the same levels or the same talent tier. And then the second thing is that there is a way to abuse the well. So if you are full HP and full mana, use 1 spell on the ground, for example, you can tap the well, and then you have 100% HP, but you also get the buff from the well, which gives you HP regeneration. So imagine enemy team is pushing into your base, you all pre-tap the well, and you start fighting, and then it's very likely that you will win the fight just because you did that. And I think that's very unhealthy for the game because it's very misleading. The enemies can't really see that you tap the well either because there is no animation unless you are not full HP and mana, and it's very. I think it's a very weird mechanic, and they need to do something to fix it. Either they make it so that you can't go over, so you don't get the buff, or just the buff gives you. Say if you're missing 30% HP, it will only give you 30%, not over that. Or they could make it so that the well is kind of like in Warcraft 3, where it has some resource pool. And every time you tap it, you use the resource pool, so that, like, say 1 or 2 people can tap it from your team, but not the whole team.
Don't you think that especially that change would maybe cause a huge problem in public play outside of the competitive scene? And you can just imagine that you are suddenly sitting on lane and you have an ally, you're nearly dying, you go for well, and your ally just like rushes in, takes the well away from you. So don't you think that would immediately shut down that idea?
Yeah, maybe you're right. I didn't think about it, but yeah, it would have happened for sure.
Are there any other ideas that you have how they could maybe like fix the well and how they could like work more towards what you were thinking about?
So I guess the other thing I said, which is not to be able to get over 100, and maybe make it even so that the well has less cooldown but gives you less HP and mana. I think I would prefer that, and it actually makes sense with the other change as well, because it will make it so that you have to recall less, which I think is good.
So one of the changes, or one of the reasons why they said that increasing the cooldown on the well is something they're currently looking at, is that they're saying when you are actually fighting on lane, it feels very impactful to just push damage onto your opponent because you can just simply move back. They suggest a higher cooldown. You now talked about a lower cooldown, but also decreasing the value that you get from the well. Do you feel that would maybe make the laning phase even more boring, or do you feel like with a reduced amount, a lower cooldown would still be totally worth it?
Yeah, so the laning phase is kind of weird in Heroes because there is very little matchups where both sides can win. So if you're in a matchup like Trau against Falstad, as Falstad you can only hide in a bush, you can't do anything. Every time you show, he will poke you with the chain lighting, so the well doesn't really matter. There are some situations where it actually matters a lot. For example, both teams clash in mid, and then you go top and you're Trau against Sonya, and then you're poked but he's not, and he'll probably win the lane because of that, because you have to tap right away, and then you have the huge cooldown. And it will, the change will be impactful for sure if they make the cooldown, say, twice as short, to 50 seconds or 60 seconds, something like that. But at the same time, the other change they want to make, the globe change, is also very impactful for laning phase, because heroes that were able to bully another hero in lane will continue to do so, and it will be much more, so the other hero will never be able to trade. And since whoever controls the globe will have full control of the lane.
So I actually think that having a reduction on the well would kind of make up for that again a little bit. Because it really feels like Blizzard is trying to make that happen, but both of those attempts seem to have huge downsides. And for example, I imagine a map like Cursed Hollow, where an Abathur can place mines along the paths that you need to go to the tributes. And if you reduce the, I like really the idea with the support role that you were talking about, reduce the healing a little bit, give them something to make up for it. But how do you deal with that damage that you oftentimes have traveling to an objective if you eat random damage from, let's say, an Abathur mine, for example? You won't be able to go into the lane and get that globe. Do you think that the well is the answer here, or do you think that Blizzard has to implement something else to really make up for that lack of healing on supports if that change comes through?
So I think the well is good enough, especially if the cooldown is reduced, because it's hard for Blizzard to add more stuff into the game, because the more mechanics they add, the more complicated the game is, and the well is something that already exists. It just requires some tuning.
Overall, like especially when they are talking about, for example, like reducing the self-regeneration, do you think that's also something that they could use, or do you feel that this is going a little bit too far?
Yeah, so I think HP regeneration in the game is already very slow. It takes about 4 minutes for heroes to regenerate from 0 to max HP, which is, like in a game of heroes, it's very, very, very long. And I think it should even be buffed. I actually don't understand why they want to nerf the HP regeneration.
Okay, so summing it up real quickly, can you just like sum up your opinion on first the globe change, and like always, of course, assuming that the goal is really to make supports change the way that they are played a little bit. Just like sum up what you think about the globe change, the well change, and also about the like regeneration.
Yeah, so I think the globe change is really good. It's in a very good direction. It also solves some weird stuff in the game, which is Globe giving you the flat amount of mana and not the percent based. The well change, I don't like it. I think they should do the exact opposite, which is to reduce the cooldown and make it so that the well gives you less HP and mana. And the HP regeneration is something that it's the thing I don't understand the most. I think they should, like in the well, do the complete opposite, where they improve the passive HP regeneration of heroes.
Right, thank you very much. Obviously, it's a topic that you can discuss quite a lot, where there's a lot of opinions on. So, Splendour, thank you very much, and good luck in the tournament.